Hey guys, so today we are going to talk about dress codes and what to wear in a job interview, believe it or not. So let's get into it. Now, if my friends from back in the day, well, I still know them and love them more than life itself, but if they could see me now talking about dress codes, they would laugh hysterically because guys, you probably don't know this, but I have worn a t-shirt and a pair of sweatpants as my piece, like my choice clothing, for more than half my life, because comfort was everything to me back in the day, and it's only in recent time where I've had to actually start considering what I wear. And yeah, let's just say that growing up I wasn't a fashion conscious type of man. I still am not very fashion conscious, but since a subscriber reached out and asked this question, I thought it was a great question, and I thought that I'll give it a whirl and give you a good answer, because I think I know how to actually do dress in a fashion and how to think about what to wear and so forth when you're in a job interview, because I've actually, well, I have a little bit of a unique experience doing this sort of thing, because I have been working at several sizes of type of companies basically, and I've been in multiple interviews at really conservative companies, very small startups, and I kind of know a thing or two about the sort of people that you're going to face in the different situations, and that's where the dress code comes in. So basically a subscriber reached out and asked if, like, how I think about dressing and if I'm just randomly select to wear a suit. And I think that the suit idea was a little bit odd, because the only time on this channel I've mentioned wearing, as far as I know, I've been making quite a few videos, so I can't remember everything, but you may remember that I have something that I call Fancy Friday, where I wear a suit for absolutely no reason. And that's exactly what I mean by no reason. There's no reason to it. Apart from it's a fun little thing that I like to do. I can gladly share my thoughts on why wearing a suit once a week is going to actually improve it's going to do things for you. But that's not what we're talking about. What we want to talk about is, okay, how do you dress and behave more accurately in a job interview when you're applying for a job? So the way that I think about this is that you should at no point as a programmer wear a suit, unless you if you're a middle-aged man or an older gentleman or woman, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, but if you have a bit of experience and you're applying for a job where the mental image of that position fits a suit, then you wear a suit. Now, what do I mean by mental image? Well, you see, mental image is the way that we humans perceive something to be, or something. If something fits in our mental image of how something should be, then we are happy. If it goes outside of our perception of how something should be, we feel it feels strange, it feels off to us. To give you a good example, if you have a really skinny white teenager wearing really heavy-duty gang tattoos or prison tattoos, that feels off. Because the tattoos, or the mental image that we associate with these tattoos, do not fit the person wearing it. It's the same type of thing we have when we see, for example, you wouldn't think that a construction worker wearing a three-piece suit feels odd. Doing their job in a three-piece suit feels very weird to us mentally, because we don't associate a suit with that type of profession. Now, a salesperson, if you are going into sales, then you should absolutely wear a suit, of course, depending on, or a lawyer, for example. This is very natural, because our culture mentally associates a suit with that sort of profession. The same thing goes for us programmers. So if you are a junior programmer and you decide that, hey, I'm going to apply for a job, and you go to a small startup where there's like maybe between 3 to 15 people working, and they're all in their mid-20s to mid-30s, and you come in there wearing a three-piece suit with a tie and everything, you're going to, like, that's a kind of a weird, it's like too much. Do you see? Like, it's too much. You're not dressing appropriately for the context that you're in. Now, what's interesting about this is that depending on where you go, there are different clothing options open to you. A small startup, like most of the programmers I know, they don't even think about this stuff. Most of them wear jeans and a t-shirt, even for the job interview. And for a small startup, that's absolutely perfect. There's no reason for you to wear anything else. You're not going to stand out whatsoever. If you wear the same thing and you go to a large-scale consultancy, you maybe depending on who's going to interview and maybe which region you find yourself in, that's not going to stand out either. But it's not going to be a good thing, where it's not going to add to your perceived value. Because at the end of the day, what you're going for is to fit, at the very least, the mental image people have of your profession. Now, the most secure clothing option that I can give you, the thing that will work for absolutely, because let's be honest here, I know, like, it's the same thing with CV, one-on-one, and all of this stuff, and personal letters, and all this stuff applying for a job. You should custom tailor every single thing for every company. Yeah, absolutely, you should. If you really want a job at a very specific type of company, then you should absolutely really do some research on the company and like know your stuff and all that stuff. I'm sorry guys, I'm just not that sort of guy. There's a very small amount of companies out there in the world where I feel so engaged in that company that I actually care that enough to do research on the company up front. Because to me, it's a two-way street. Like, the company is, if I work for the company, they will benefit. If I get to work for the company, I will also benefit. So I don't see why I should have to do all this research in order to prove to them that I'm a good candidate. I think that to me, that's my personal opinion. But at the very least, I know how to dress when I go to an interview. The safest thing for you, regardless of your age, is to wear jeans with a shirt. The absolute safest thing. If you are applying for a consultancy, a large-scale company who has a lot of really big clients from, say, more conservative organizations, it's actually funny because in my company now, a lot of the founders in my company, they are kind of young. I mean, they're fairly young guys, late 20s to early 30s, like myself, and they have been kind of neglecting this as well. But we work with a lot of banks, and I think it's very interesting and it's funny to see that they are realizing that, hey, maybe putting on a tie or a shirt or a jacket or something is actually going to be beneficial. Not because they care about it, but because the banks care about it. The people working in the bank cares about it. It was the same thing for me. When I was in the university, I wore sweatpants and t-shirts to every event all the time because I didn't care. And then I met this representative for one of the big consultancies here in Gothenburg. And I have never in my life cared about what I wore. Ever. Never. Until that moment when I shook hands with that guy and I was looking for an internship, and I could see this guy, he looked up and down, and I could see that he judged me based on what I was wearing. And then I realized that now I'm going to have to make a decision between being an individual and getting to wear whatever the hell I want, or wearing something that is appropriate to that person's mental context, because I'm trying to get something from this individual. Therefore, I am unfortunately in the position where I have to kind of cater to that. That's what salespeople do. Guys, that's why salespeople have suits. And the same thing goes for lawyers and wristwatches. They put all this bullshit on in order to impress somebody else. And that's exactly what you're going for. If you don't you don't have to wear a shirt and a tie and stuff of that nature if you don't want to. But if you want to be perceived as somebody, if you want to have people to have a good mental image of you, you have to dress appropriately. As I said, you're not trying to underdress and you're not trying to overdress, because having a three-piece suit, that's overdressing for almost every single situation, as a programmer at least. Underdressing is wearing slacks or like wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt. At the very bare minimum, have jeans and a t-shirt. The best fit, from my experience, is shirt, jeans. And preferably some type of nicer shoes, not sneakers or anything like that. And if you want to go a little bit fancier, and this is actually very interesting, if you put on a tie, a shirt and a tie and a pair of jeans, you will actually, for the most part, be almost slightly above. Like people will notice that, because in our culture and today, it's actually very uncommon for people in their, most of you who are watching are between 25 to 35, 45, somewhere there. It's actually not that common for people to have a tie these days. So it's actually something that it's very funny, because on more than a few occasions, I've been at interviews where people have actually noticed and appreciated that I wore a tie. That's it, I just put on a tie. Can't tell you that it's going to work for you, but it works very nice for me. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this. When it comes to dress codes for a job interview, you have to ask yourself, who am I seeing? Am I talking to a small startup with just like 3 guys or girls, or like very, very young people? Then yeah, you have to consider, okay, what are they wearing? Try to kind of reflect that, and of course reflect what you're looking for in the job. If you just want to be a programmer, as I said, it doesn't really matter. If you want to be like a manager type of person or something like that, you have to think about it a little bit more carefully. But in general, the most safe bet for you is to wear a shirt and jeans, and above sneakers, not something a little bit nicer, like casual dress shoes, if you will. That is universally going to fit you in absolutely everywhere. And that's at least my experience on this topic. Have a great day.